Just a quick few notes from this week's session. I noticed, for example, a few people are having issues, particularly with the mouse being very sensitive, to be able to very fine tune the selections and then grouping things together. So I found another simple technique that works no matter what the mouse condition is. So I'll give you a quick rundown of that, and also a quick rundown of the animations. But while you're you want to delay it. You want it to run automatically, for example, with the slide. When the slide loads, but you want a bit of a delay. So I thought I'd go through these few little things with you. So for grouping, the method I showed you in session was to click on the first item, hold down the control button, and then repeat that with the second and further items. So if I go to where the line would be for the heading, I get not only an arrow, I get a little small plus. So we click there, that will select the second item. And likewise, if I go above, click there, I've got a little plus with the arrow, click once, that gives me the third item. And then all you need to do, and this is the method I showed you in session, was to click the right mouse button and then choose group and group. Now, the issue a lot of people had was when they got to this point and they were trying to actually do the selection part, they found that as they clicked the right mouse button, it came up with this menu here instead of the correct menu. And that was because either you were moving your mouse slightly, or more likely because your mouse is set to a really high sensitivity rate. So it's picking up on every single movement. So a way of fixing this is actually to go to your mouse settings and change your mouse settings so that they actually are a little bit less sensitive. That means as you move your mouse will actually go a little bit slower and therefore be less sensitive. Now, I've already changed mine to slightly lower, but if you go to mouse settings and you're finding it somewhere up there, say like 17, 18, 19, 20 sort of region, you might want to just bring it down to the sort of slower region. Or alternatively, some mice have a little button on top which allows you to go through different settings. So when I press the button, the sensitivity will change automatically within the mouse rather than using Windows settings. So that's one way of doing it. Now, if you still want to know an alternative technique, an alternative way of doing this will be to actually highlight all the various bits together, which will select them, and then there's a menu which will allow you to combine them or to group them together. So I'll give you a quick demonstration of this. So if I go around the whole area, make sure you don't go too far, don't go across there, for example, just stay the area you wish grouping together and let go. If you do it successfully, the three elements will be actually highlighted together, just as if you pressed control and click for each of them in turn. And then you get a new menu. And when you get a new menu here called shape format, you have an option to merge. And I always use the union option, which merges them completely. And that then becomes one element. So let me repeat that with this one here. So highlight, and make sure you highlight well away from the element. So that if you only highlight within the elements, then it obviously won't work. And if you highlight within other elements, it won't work neither. So make sure you're highlighting somewhere nice and clear. And a good way of knowing that is when you're about to highlight, make sure you've got an arrow rather than any other shape to your mouse. So you highlight, you then get a new menu appear called shape format, and you choose merge and union, and that brings them together. Okay, so quick one on animations. So obviously the animations menu's there. So what I want for this slide, I want the original text to stay, number one text to stay in place to load with the slide itself, but I want the number two text to appear after I've finished talking and once I've clicked the button, and likewise the number three text to appear after number two when I've stopped talking about the number two text. So I'm just going to use the simple fly in. So it's going to appear like that. So that's going to be number one. So once the page loads, that's going to load first after I click the button. And likewise, if I click on this block here and click fly in, that will be number two. Now, when I play this, I'm going to just play this one slide. You can see the slide loads quite nicely. The first bit of text is there. I press the button on my keyboard. The second text loads. Press a button on my keyboard. The third text loads. Now, if I want to animate it further, maybe with the image on the right-hand side, but not actually wait for a key to be pressed, to automate the process of it loading, but to animate and come flying in. That's where you can set it up for a delay, so it loads with the previous slide. So I'll show you this. It's quite straightforward. I've first of all, I've clicked on the image, just so you, in case you didn't notice, I've clicked already. And I'm going to change it so it automatically happens. Oops, let me just, oh, I want to wheel it. Yeah, let's have a shape. Zoom. We'll go for zoom. There we go. That's quite nice. Now I'm going to use this option here, the start option, and I'm going to change that to with previous. So what that tells the computer is that happens once the actual slide loads. So the slide loads and this automatically happens as well. Now, the reason for that is because sometimes you want things to happen automatically with the slides. But what you will find is you'll probably find it actually happens either too quick or too slow, so you can delay. Now, these numbers up here represent seconds. So the number there is seconds, and the number there is hundredths of a second. So if I change this to 2 seconds, the actual slide will wait for 2 seconds before loading the image. And then when I click on these tabs here, it will actually take place as before. So let me just see what we've got so far. So we'll press Shift and F5. That will load. Bingo. Now, not quite working. So we're going to have a look and see what's going on. There's the image. Now it's telling me the order with these numbers. So number 1, number 2, and that's also number 2. So when I click on there, it's loading with previous, but it's actually, because it's saying number 2, it's going to happen at the same time that happens. It's not going to happen at the same time that, or even before. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to override the order by using these buttons here to move earlier or to move later. So I actually want this to happen straight away. So I'm going to move it all the way to the very first thing. So I'm going to click on move earlier, and that becomes number 1. So that would at the moment happen at the same time this happens. But I don't want that. I actually want it to happen automatically. So again, I'm going to go to move earlier. That changes to 0. 0 means it happens as the slide loads. So this now happens as the slide loads. Then when I click, that will happen. And then when I click again, that will happen. So now let's see what we've got. So Shift, number 5. So that automatically loads. Now that just gives the image a little bit of animation, makes it look a little bit more, engaging. As I press the button, number 2 comes in. And as I press the button again, number 3 comes in. So that was the look and feel of it I wanted. Just one final thing. I know it all seems a lot of detail, but with practice you get used to this very quickly. The final thing is the speed this animation takes place is determined by duration up here. Now at the moment the duration is a half a second, very quick. So if I change this, say, to 2 seconds, okay, what's going to happen? It's going to take 4 times longer to happen, so therefore it'll be 4 times slower. Okay, so if I again Shift and F5 to play this one slide, see the difference in speed. It comes up naturally, it feels a bit more relaxed. And when I press the other buttons, there's the second block, there's the third block, looks more professional. Okay, I'll leave it there.